Traditions, twinkle lights, and a season of learning, and I bet you're asking yourselves, where's Bob? Don't worry, he's just jet lagged. I'm Lisa Christensen, filling in as a guest host of this episode, a special holiday episode of the Learning Geeks podcast, starting now. How are you guys?
I am so tired.
Are you?
Yes.
Where were you?
No, I was in France. We decided this year, I usually go to Disneyland for my birthday, and we decided that we would go to the one in France this year. And so we spent a week in France, and it wasn't just Disneyland. We had a great few days in Paris, and then we went out and visited my wife's homestay family when she homestayed there 40 years ago when she was in high school, and that was really, really fun to go out there. And we had a great trip. I'll talk more about it a little bit later. But yeah, I'm just really jet lagged. So thank you for doing that for me, Lisa. I did not have the energy to do a cold open.
But I do have to ask though, but Lisa, weren't you overseas too?
I was.
And you still were able to do the cold open over Bob?
She's stronger than I am.
I was in Prague and Dublin last week. Yeah, it was a great trip. I spent a lot of time with my team. But for some reason, knock on wood, I don't really get jet lag. I mean, I do on some trips. Asia, an Asia trip will definitely give me jet lag. But Europe, I can hop back and forth, and I don't really feel it. So.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Yeah.
Well, my sleep is so messed up anyway. I never even hit normalcy until Thursday, of last week. I was waking up at 2 a.m, and sleeping, taking naps and everything like that. But it was great.
Awesome.
But this is the holiday special, right? So this is the one where we get on the Millennium Falcon and fly to Kashyyyk to celebrate Life Day. Is that the idea, Jake?
Kind of. Yeah.
Okay.
And talk about some of our favorite stories around the holiday. And of course, this is a learning podcast, so we're going to tie in learning in some way. And then for those that are not seeing Dana is very, very festive today. Not jet lagged. Fully, tons of energy today.
So I was just going to say, Bob was in Europe. Lisa was in Europe. Jake was out at Disneyland in California. Yeah. And I was working.
Somebody has to.
I was working.
Did you get a lot done?
I drew the short card.
Yeah,
well, who's asking? Bob the boss or Bob the co-host?
Let's call it Bob the co-host right now. I don't want to
I didn't get anything done in that case.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I'm glad. You deserve a little bit of a break. It's Christmas time.
That's right.
It is Christmas time.
Yeah.
The end of the year slides. Hard to get anything done.
Yeah, for sure.
The one thing I always appreciate about the holidays in the U.S., this particular holiday, is a lot of times if you go on vacation, you go away, you come back, and your email is just piled up.
Mm-hmm.
But this time of the year, it's a little different because so many people are out.
Right.
That you come back and sometimes I've come back and been surprised. Like, well, why isn't my email box more full? Well, that's because everybody else is out too.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites because I feel like everyone just closes down.
I worked for a company for a while that just shut down for the last 2 weeks of the year.
Yeah.
It was just like everybody was gone. It was free vacation, which was good. Well, actually, they didn't even count vacation there. So I suppose it could have been vacation every day, but you wouldn't have lasted long. If
the unlimited PTO?
The unlimited PTO, which means that nobody actually takes vacation.
Blessing and curse of PTO.
Yeah.
Well, should we get started with our holiday show? One of the things we wanted to do today is, it's a special holiday episode, and many of us brought in stories and things around the holiday, tie in something with learning. And I can go ahead and start at least with my topic, but I thought we'd just do kind of round robin stuff as we go, bring up topics. Maybe drink some eggnog if that's kind of your fancy. Not much of a fan anymore.
I've just been eating gingerbread dough. Julie's making gingerbread cookies, and I've got the bowl of the dough here. So that's
wait, really?
No eggnog. Oh yeah.
Oh man, I had intended to bring eggnog and I forgot. Oh,
hey Jake, before you share yours, you guys are all had great adventures over the last couple of days. Here's my big adventure. I was at a mall. And I happened to step into the elevator with Mr. and Mrs. Claus. And I got to tell you, it was a bit claustrophobic.
Can I go get my eggnog? Can I
that was excellent.
I really
now I'm going to get my eggnog and it's going to have bourbon in it.
I really need to get a mixer machine to start doing some type of sound effect when
we need a drum.
Dana does his dad joke.
We need a drum roll for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so Jake, now you can go. Now that I've shared my
dad joke.
Give
Give us a good tradition, Jake. Something holiday related.
Anyway, I thought I would love to share. I was thinking of a memorable holiday moment that was also a learning moment. So I did have one. One I wanted to share was a friend's Christmas. And it was actually my junior year of college. And I remember this specifically because it was the first time I was in an apartment, first time out of the dorms. I had 2 roommates. We wanted to spend that time and actually decorate the apartment. It was the first time you can really decorate. I mean, maybe I decorated in the dorm. I don't remember doing a whole lot, but I just remember, plus there was no space. I mean, you really had like 1 inch here and there to maybe put a little bit of an ornament or a random tree. But we had a 3-bedroom apartment. We started to decorate the apartment. One of my roommates was that typical guy where he's, I'm too old to decorate. We don't need to do that kind of stuff. So it was just my other roommate and I doing it. And we went all out. We attempted to make gingerbread houses. We went to Walmart and bought, what we can afford to build our own winter village. We actually repurposed our ping pong table as a snowy backdrop by draping over a white sheet and filling it with lights. We put lights everywhere. We went to a tree farm, chopped down a tree, brought it home. And then we also decided to do, I would call and I'm doing air quotes, a fancy Christmas party, where we'd come, actually our friends would come over. We had a party and we dressed up. And again, I did air quotes because in college we're pretty much all broke anyway. So our fancy was as fancy as we can make it, but it was fun. And the reason I thought this holiday moment was special for me, both as a learning moment and just as a memory, it was the moment when I realized that I was teetering on still being a kid and also growing into an adult. It was that moment. But the lesson for me is that I realized I don't have to be either. I can just grow up and still have my kid-like spirit, but also deal, with adult responsibilities. But to this day, I love to decorate. I love to imagine things with the kids, with my kids today. Think about all these new fun things. When I was just at Disneyland, I can be a kid again. We're joking around. I'm the adult on the ride, especially on Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, yelling at the characters, while all the other kids are just, screaming. I'm yelling, trying to get into the character moment. So I really do think of that moment as that time of I really enjoyed the fact that I have my own place to decorate. I have my ability to have a fancy Christmas party, but at the same time, I could still do all the kid-like things and imagine. So that was that moment for me that was very memorable.
I love that.
I feel like I've kind of kept that balance throughout.
You can be childlike without being childish, Jake.
Exactly. That's a better way to say it, yeah.
And Jake, I was thinking about how each of my daughters, as they've gotten older, at one point or another, each one has come to us and said, adulting is not as fun as I thought it was going to be. So the idea of, maintaining the childlike heart and childlike attitude while you're still doing the adulting things, that's a really healthy approach.
The one thing I always liked about from the adults, when I was in college, I remember my roommate's older sister would always tell us, stay in college as long as you can. Being an adult's not that fun. But there was part of us that really wanted to because we liked the independence of things, being able to make decisions, being able to sleep when we want to, because we still felt like we woke up really early. And now I have a way different perspective on that. But, but I mean, there are elements that we did like the independence. I still do. If you want to go buy something, you don't have to tell mom or dad doesn't have to tell you can't get that. That part was good. But anyway, that was my
You do need to
moment.
check with Erica on that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although sometimes I feel like she needs to check with me on a lot of things because I feel like
okay.
I'm not the spender, really.
Oh.
Bye.
This is turning into a family
I was gonna say,
counseling
this
podcast.
podcast
Maybe I
is
should bring
taking a
Sherry
turn.
in.
No, here's
Bring
my
in the teletherapist here.
quick little thing. I do spend, but I am the worst at buying. So I'll buy something, the
And take
next
it back.
day I have immediate regret, and I'll probably return it. So to the point where I've become an expert at repacking.
Well,
really.
and they know you on a first name basis at Best Buy. Oh, here's Jake bringing back that thing.
Yeah.
Here's Jake.
Yeah, exactly. Apple's pretty much knows me. I'm pretty good at that.
Well, you kept your Apple Watch finally, didn't you?
I did.
You have your Ultra?
I do have my Ultra.
You got it and you returned it and you got it again.
Yeah. I think I got,
Yeah.
well, these are my AirPods, but my AirPods, I'm going on, it was my third before I officially.
Before you committed.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same when someone gives it to you? When someone, like, if it's a gift, do you feel the same remorse?
No, I don't. I don't know why. Maybe it was because the way I grew up, I really had to value every cent and dollar, and so I just was so ingrained in that, and so and also not needing a lot of things. That was also a thing I just always grew up to be, and even to this day, I try to practice. But
Being satisfied.
yeah. And so when someone else gives it, I just appreciate it, and I don't feel that regret. Yeah. Thank goodness, seriously, because I think I'd have real problems if that was the case.
Well, I can hit y'all with a Christmas story tradition. There are a couple of movies that we like to watch every Christmas. One of them is not It's a Wonderful Life anymore. It used to be. We kind of burned out on It's a Wonderful Life because it was on. Remember, for a while, it was on every channel, like every hour of the day. The two movies that we love to watch for Christmas now are A Christmas Story and Elf.
Mm-hmm.
And lots of times it gets to be on Christmas and I'll be like, oh, let's watch one of those. And my family kind of resists. I'm like, well, we've seen it before. So when I was saying we just now about we, it's really I who like to watch these movies every year. So on this last trip, on the way out there, they didn't have A Christmas Story, but they had A Christmas Story Christmas, which is the sequel that just came out last year.
Oh, yeah.
With everybody grown up. And I watched it. It was okay. It was a B movie. It was okay. But yesterday, as we were flying home, I decided I was going to watch Elf. And so I wasn't even going to bother asking Sherry, if she wanted to watch Elf. I'm like, I can just watch it myself because she never wants to watch it. So I put it on, and then about a minute into it, she like taps me on the shoulder. She's like, what are you watching? I'm like, it's Elf. She's like, I don't remember this part where they're at the North Pole. And she starts watching it. She watched like the whole movie with me with no sound. And she was laughing hysterically, like not being able to hear what was going on. And occasionally she would be tapping me on the shoulder like, what did he say? What's going on? And I wanted to be like, maybe you could watch it yourself with your own headphones and I wouldn't have to like narrate for you. But it was actually a very fun moment. And we enjoyed it because we both got a lot of good belly laughs out of it. That really is a very funny movie.
That's
so
a great movie.
So that had really nothing to do with learning. So let me pivot it a little bit with this was my learning moment from the last week. I was absolutely shocked at how quickly my French came back to me being immersed in France. And for some background, I had 3.5 years of French in high school, which was almost, so we're talking like 40 years ago.
And no
that I
practice
took French.
in between?
Very little. I mean, occasionally, like we have a French colleague, Bruno, and I'll try, speaking French to him occasionally. And I've been there. Yeah, he laughs. He thinks I'm silly. A couple of trips over there, but like really nothing. But as soon as we jumped in, like a lot of it was coming back. And when we were visiting Sherry's homestay family, her homestay sister, I think she forgot that we didn't speak French as well as she did, and she would just rattle off sentences. And I was trying to pull out the phone and do Google Translate, and hit the button in time to get it translated. But usually I wasn't able to do it. But then I was like, I'm actually picking up most of what she's saying. It was amazing to me. And then when we came home last night, our son Harrison, who's staying with us for a while, told us that while we were gone, he started trying to learn Spanish. And so he said to me, he's like, okay, so you're the Learning Geeks. What durable learning principle should I use as I'm learning Spanish? He's connected with durable learning right now for a fun reason we'll share with you later. But I was like, well, you need it to be effortful. You need it to be spaced. You need to practice. Like those are the key things, right? And the spaced being something really, really key to practice for a while, but then take a break and come back to it. And I thought, wow, I had about 40 years of spaced. And my French came back to me, and just the way that my brain like hit those parts, was able to hit the recall on those parts that I hadn't really needed to use for all those decades. It really amazed me. I thought it was really cool.
And it was more of the processing, not the actual speaking.
A little bit of both.
Really?
Like, we actually did okay with the speaking. Yeah. And that's one thing, the French, I think, have a unfounded reputation for being very nasty to foreigners. I don't find that true. And especially if you make even the slightest effort to speak French, they really reach out to you. There was one point where I said something and I said it wrong, and the guy corrected me with a smile, and I'm like, mon français is très mauvais. My French is very bad. And he's like, no, it is okay. You are trying your best. You are giving your best effort, and I could understand you. So keep going. It was so great.
That's cool.
It was so great. Very encouraging. So encouragement, also a good part of learning. So those are my stories. So it was a very, very interesting learning week for me in that regard.
Now I need to go back to not go back to because I've never been, but I need to go to Paris, and see if I can do the same. Because I also
did you take French?
I did 3 in high school.
Wow.
Oh.
And I was at the point where in my 3rd year, I was very hard for me to speak it, but processing it, when my teacher would start going off on just speaking the whole time in French, I was able to pick up majority of it. Yeah.
Well, I had a similar experience recently when I went over to Israel, right? And I did not study Hebrew as long as you studied French, but I look at the signs and I'd go, okay, I know where we're going. Or I'd hear some phrases and I'd go, all right, I can make out parts of that. I'm sure it was not as robust as you, but for me too, that was, decades ago when I immerse myself there. Alicia, you're going to say something and I cut you off.
Oh, I was reading something recently. I've been restudying. I spoke Japanese in my youth, and so I've been restudying that the last few months. And I was reading something about the other thing that strikes me is this idea of being willing to make mistakes, right? You just got to get out there and start speaking. Yeah. And the more you speak, the more you get an opportunity like you had to be corrected. And that's also super helpful, because if you kind of hang back and wait until you know perfectly, you'll never get in there. So I'd add to his durable learning principles, just start talking.
Yeah, growth mindset, talking. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Now I'm curious about you speaking Japanese as a child. Did you take Japanese, or did you live there, or what?
I lived there, growing up. So just a few years in high school. But yeah, and so my dad and both of my brothers all speak fluently.
Wow.
So I'm the only one who doesn't speak fluently, and it's really rusty. I haven't used it in a long time. I took a lot of Japanese in college and have a minor, but you don't use it and it kind of atrophies. And so
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so a little while ago I was like, I'm going to Duolingo this up and see if I can resurrect some of my rusty Japanese, and it's coming back. I'm surprised how much I remember. But.
So is your memorable holiday moment when your brothers and your dad were speaking Japanese and you couldn't comprehend it completely, and you're worried if they were making fun of you or talking about you?
Oh, I know they're making fun of me. It's not there's no question
not a
about
question
whether or not that's happening. Yeah, no. I always say I speak Japanese well enough to know when I'm being mocked. So, yeah. No, I've been thinking a little bit about holiday moments, and in the last couple of years, we've really been working to kind of simplify, right? We have one of our children who we call her the traditionalist. If you start something, you better be ready to do it forever, because she's going to want to do it forever. And so we've been really working on trying to simplify down to just what makes us feel the best? When are we the happiest together? And it was interesting because I was in Dublin this last week and we were talking to some colleagues, and one was from the Netherlands, and he was saying, "Oh, I celebrated your American Thanksgiving this year." And I said, "Oh, tell me about that. Why did you do that?" His brother lives in the United States, and so his brother came for a visit and said, "It's really great. It's an amazing holiday. We have to celebrate it." And so they did. And he said it was so simple and so warm, and it was just great to be with the people you loved. And I really, and that really resonated with me. And that's what we've been trying to create, I think, the last few years, is just bringing some intentionality. That's a big theme, Jake, for us. We spend a lot of time thinking about intentional learning and intentional teaching, and just really trying to be really thoughtful about, what do I bring into this that I want to, because I know once I do, I have to do it forever, because that is the child I have. But yeah, just like, how, what do I love the most? And I'm finding that for me, it's things that really spark gratitude, and trying to spend my celebration on things that make me feel really grateful. And that, that's been some of the things I've been thinking about over the last couple of days, as I've been thinking about you guys and what we would talk about. Just I enjoy anything holiday that kind of sparks that feeling of gratitude for me.
I feel the same. I feel with the holiday. Well, I mean, holiday season usually starts at Thanksgiving for us, because that's the first moment where
Us too.
It's where we decorate. It's the time where we actually start to have family. We do usually a small family gathering for that day. It kicks off the season. And then this is, the day we're recording this is the week before Christmas for those that celebrate. And we start, I think we're going to get together there on Friday, and we go and see my
nice.
brother-in-law, sister-in-law, and we stay over there for over the night. Kids love it because we're with their cousins. But again, that's that moment where we just appreciate the kids being together during that time, because I think that it's just one of those memories that you'll never forget.
Just simple times when people are all together, and they get a chance to. I think some of my favorite things with my kids are just like anything that's people are sitting around laughing. We watch a lot of Elf as well. Although now I guess we've abdicated all holiday movies, because we sat down last night to watch a movie and our daughter was like, nothing about Christmas. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh boy. Oh my. Okay.
I see. We've taken a turn now. I got it.
Is that the traditionalist or the different one?
So maybe she's
Wow.
turned over a new leaf, as she is now.
Yeah. New traditions.
We call her a baby adult. So she's she's
my.
emerging into adulthood. Maybe she's given up movies. I don't know.
What about you,
All
Dana?
right, so I'll go ahead and share. I've got lots of thoughts you guys have generated, but the one, as I was thinking about what would be interesting to share, I wanted to share one of the most memorable Christmases I had, and what had happened is my mother had passed away, and so I, rather than continuing at school, I was staying at home and staying with my dad and helping him through that grieving process. But during that time, I was getting ready to do a semester abroad, and I was going over to study in Jerusalem and Israel. And so during the 4 or 5 months leading up to that, I immersed myself in study. I had the college student mindset, right? So I immersed myself in all kinds of things, and I'm going to hold up a series of books. Most of these I've acquired since, but you can see things like Atlas of the Bible, Manners and Customs of the Bible, the Bible itself, Jesus Christ and the World of the New Testament, Sketches of Jewish Life, Social Life by Edersheim. So I immersed myself in the archaeology and the geography and the history and all of those things. And I spent all kinds of time getting ready for the experience. And if you think about the timing, so I was leading my trip started in, I think it was January 6th or January 5th, which meant that my studies were kind of culminating right around the time of Christmas. Mm-hmm. And so I had all of this knowledge and background in my head as we were leading up to the holidays. So when I would hear a Christmas carol, it would have a whole lot more meaning, right? Yeah. And when we'd be putting Christmas ornaments up or putting out the nativity, all of those things had just a deeper meaning. And then when I actually got over there and we started going to some of the archaeology sites or some of the historical sites, or we'd be talking about the political landscape, I had all this insight, and I was able to ask deeper, more insightful questions, and was more engaged than so many of my other student colleagues who didn't do as much preparation. And so, for me, that was just one of the more meaningful Christmases. And there's a huge learning lesson in there, right? We try to boil down simply, do the pre-work.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Often designers go and they say, yeah, this is really important for you to know before you come to class. And people usually blow it off. We know that's true.
Yeah.
But in this case, this was a huge example of where doing the pre-work had a significant impact. And, Bob and Jake know that I've been over several times since, most recently back in April and May. We went over with my 3 daughters and their husbands, and just had a great experience. And after each day, the kids would say, "Well, is there anything that the tour guide said that it was incorrect, or that you think we should know more about?" And I was able to draw on stuff that I learned, 2 and 3 decades ago, and have studied since. Yeah, actually,
that's
not
sir,
the location.
The fact is this.
Yeah,
that was one experience. The other one I just need to share, just because it's fun. We started a tradition, and Bob and Jake both know about 3rd Street in Geneva. 3rd Street in Geneva, Illinois, is each year around Christmas, I think it's the first Friday of December, they shut down the street, and it just becomes a real holiday festival. There's a place where they're making wreaths outdoors. They've got Christmas carolers. They've got fires outside. Mm-hmm. All of the stores are decked out, and they give out cookies and juice and all kinds of things. And so we started this. We used to go as a family all the time. But as my kids got older, when they were younger, they created all kinds of ornaments in elementary school, right? Yeah. The ones where they just color, and and you don't really want to throw them out because they're cute. But then it gets to the point where they're teenagers, and it's like, okay, do we really need to hang on to this anymore? So we started this tradition when 3rd Street festivities started taking place. We would vote on which ugly ornament we wanted to do something with. And so we would take the ugly ornament, and I would sneak into one of the stores that had a window front, and I would look for the security cameras. And then I would go and I would hang that ornament in such a way that you could see it from the outside on whatever their pretty display is. So you might have a really nice, elegant Christmas tree display, and then you'd have an ugly ornament hanging on it.
That's amazing.
So that tradition continued until we moved out here, and we haven't figured out how to start it back up. That's one my kids remember. There's nothing learning about that, but it was a fun tradition.
I love that.
I love that too. And Dana, I don't live that far away from Geneva. Still,
oh,
since,
you could continue it through.
Since actually,
we have ugly ornaments left
somewhere, but moved in the last X number of years. But
Jake, we have ugly ornaments left. I'm glad to send you some.
You should. You should send some out.
Start putting them
then
up.
We can go up there, because Geneva, Illinois is a great town. It's a river town. It's fantastic. Yeah, I can go up there and put an ornament up and keep the tradition alive if you want.
Let's all send ornaments to Jake. Yeah, all of our listeners too. Send an ornament to Jake.
We also have plenty in our basement that are sitting in.
So Jake, the funny thing is, for days afterwards, we drive by and say, "Yep, it's still on the window. Yep, it's still in the window."
Oh my gosh, I love it.
And we always wanted to be a fly on the wall when someone would say, "Oh, this is such a beautiful ornament. I'd like to buy this." It's like, well, there's no price on it. Where did this come from? I don't know.
That's amazing.
We do have a tradition too of getting Christmas tree ornaments from places that we visit. To relive the memory. So the only one we got this year, we were looking for, and we didn't find ones that we liked, but we got one from the Moulin Rouge. So
cool.
We went to the show at the Moulin Rouge. So that, it'll remind you of a little bit of a risque evening, but it was tame. It was super fun. But you know what? As I realize we're starting to come to a close, I'm picking up a theme of, you used the word earlier, Lisa, of intentionality, and just how important it is for the learning process to come to it with intentionality, and how much more fruitful it is when you do that. But also intentionality around the holidays, and making the decision that, instead of it just being a day off to coast or to turn off your brain, if you come into it with a little bit of intentionality, you can really make memories with your kids, or or build into yourself and, really recharge yourself for the rest of the year. So that might be a nice thing to leave our listeners with, a suggestion that as we jump into the rest of the holidays, that we do it with some degree of intentionality and think about what you want to get out of this next few weeks. And
Bob, with that observation, it almost seems like your jet lag's over, because that was a nice way to tie all of those things together.
Very nice.
Welcome back.
I come up with some good stuff when I'm dead tired.
Just to carry you out for the year.
All right.
Okay, who's going to do the close now? Lisa, you going to do the close? You did such a good job on the open. You should do the close.
No one prepared me to do the close. Absolutely not.
Oh, all right.
All right. I feel like you got it nailed.
I got the energy back?
Yeah, you got
Absolutely.
that. You got it back.
All right. Well, hey, that's the end of our holiday special. And, we didn't make it to Kashyyyk, but we had a really good time reminiscing and thinking. So thanks to Lisa, our special guest and co-host. Thanks for doing the cold open for me. And it's always great to have you on. So it's great to see you. And thanks to Jake and Dana, as always. And thanks to you, our listeners. We hope that you will have a great holiday season. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and tell us all about us to all your friends all over LinkedIn and wherever else you talk about podcasts that you listen to regularly and all that kind of stuff. Have a great holiday season. Have a great year, and we'll see you real soon. Until then, stay geeky, my friends. Take care.
Happy holidays.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.